So I did say I was going to talk a little bit about the CLG drama that just happened recently. Obviously, I just coached these guys. Let me preface this with, I don't really want to talk about what happened before I got on the team. I don't know the details. I actually just have no idea. And all I have is like second-hand, third-hand sources about what happened. And I don't really want to talk about it. It's just like, I don't really, I wasn't invested in the team when they had Hotshot or like George or like Nian. Like, I have no idea what happened there. All I can really say is about my experiences when I was with the team. So just the last split, okay? That's the forward, I guess, before I go into this. So let me think a little bit about, I think everyone wants to be, is coming up to me and they're just like, do you think Link's side of the story is right or Doublelift side of the story is right? And to be quite frank, I think both of them have pretty honest opinions about certain things. I think that, yeah, it just shows like, I guess, two sides of the same coin kind of deal. But what's more important than like what's right and what's wrong is more like, I think that they just had really incompatible mentalities about how to play the game. And the real big thing is, I think Link just got really frustrated with how... Oh no, let me also say that I'm obviously a little bit more closer. I'm closer with Link than I am with Peter. And even though I like Peter, that I just should say that before I say anything else. This isn't going to be an unbiased like approximation. It's going to be biased because this is from like my side, I guess. But the way I see it is that when I was playing with them, I heard beforehand that Link like maybe wasn't that motivated to split before due to extenuating circumstances, and neither was like the rest of the team. So I didn't care about any of that. So I got on the team, and I felt that of all the people who tried the hardest on the team were Link and Zion. Everyone else, you know, didn't try as hard. And that didn't mean it didn't put in effort. It just means that like those two definitely stood out in the amount of things that they did. Link especially, you know, when he's like, yeah, he did pick spans, like he looked at more regional VODs than the support staff. Like he actually stayed up super late at night to watch a lot of different regional VODs. He watched Korean solo queue all the time. He helped with rotations, with shot calling. He also helped with out of scrim focus as well as in-scrim focus as well, and so he did like a really good job of being like, it felt like for me when I was in there, I felt that Link was the most improved person in terms of motivation. So he always made it so that like I felt that he was the most motivated. It may be pretty close with Zion, but I felt that he was the most motivated person, and I felt that he never really got that back. And a good example is so as you get more and more veteran into LCS and competitive League of Legends, it's really hard not to get a jaded opinion about stuff. And I think that, you know, I think that if you're a professional League of Legends player, you should eat, sleep, and breathe League of Legends. When you wake up in the morning, when you like go to sleep, you should be theory crafting. You should be like, oh my god. Like at dinner, you could be like, oh, what do you think about those games today, man? Those games didn't go too well, but what do you think about support Bard with Frozen Mallet? That seems broken. Like, I don't know. You should just be talking about League all the time. And it felt like maybe our in-scrim practice was fine, but out of scrims, only really like not many people were putting in as much effort as he was. You know, I think he was doing too much work, actually. A lot of it should have been shouldered by me, another part of the support staff, or other members of the team. What just ended up happening was that he put in a lot of work, and he probably felt that he didn't get a lot of it back. Because I remember specifically there were situations where every week, I think for like 9 weeks, he was like, or every other week, he was like, oh, okay, this is what people are playing in Korea. I think this is what's going to be strong next week. I want you guys to play these champions so that we can draft it. And since he's a drafter, he's looking out for new picks, right? He's like, I think these are good. Like, Urgot's starting to see meta pick. You see Vlad mid again, stuff like that. And no one really responded that well to those. Like, it just seemed like really secondary. Like, the only person who really took an interest was Zion. And I also took an interest as well, but for everyone else, it was just like, I don't know. It just seemed that a lot of people separated work and play, I guess. So it's like, oh, this is scrim time. This is very specific. And afterwards, it was like out of game stuff that I felt that I don't know. Like when I'm a player on a team, I really want there to be. I want everyone to be like, to try really hard, like to be super motivated. And if it just felt like that wasn't the case last split, like everyone talked big, right? Like, and I talked big too. Like, I want to go to Worlds. Do I feel like I put in the effort to warrant that? I think probably not. Or if I did, it was in the wrong resources, you know. And I think the same is for the other teams. I feel like everyone has passion, but how they channel the passion into like actually motivating themselves to do stuff, I feel like didn't really happen. No. And I think that was really, really bad for Link, because it's like, okay, if he's putting in this much effort, and and he links it back to a lot of what C9 does. Like C9, they just talk about the game all the time, right? And CLG, it feels like once we finish scrims, like no one really talks about the game. It's like we talk about the game before scrims, after scrims, and then we're done. Like it's all like free time, but no one really. It's not like you're like really invested into talking and like immersing yourself in League all the time. And I think I really just ended up getting to him. Like he started to play worse because of it, and I don't know. He just wasn't motivated because no one else seemed like he was as motivated, right? Yeah, so this is just from my perspective of things. And on the opposite hand, we have Peter. I think Peter is someone who, during scrims is actually pretty serious. Like he cares the most about draft. Even though he says he doesn't care about what champion you play, he cares like more than anyone else. He has a really, really straightforward way of how he wants to draft, and he's probably the best 1v2 AD carry at controlling the jungle I've ever seen. Guy's unreal at doing that. But his mentality, I feel like, was different. Like it felt like whereas Link wanted people to be more like motivated, and maybe the coaching staff to be like push the people to be more self-motivated, he wanted the coaching staff or to step up and end up doing a lot of other things. Like for instance, I feel that I will say though, I don't think I was like an excellent coach. I don't think I'm a great coach, and I don't think there is a great coach in the Western scene, or at least in NA. Like there's just like pretty good coaches, and that's it. And I feel like I've probably ran into like the middle of the pack / maybe 4th place as a coach. But even if you're like 1st or 2nd, I don't think you're like super good. But because coaching is so new, it's really hard to be like in other sports. Coaches do anything from like could do a lot of different things, right? But it's really hard for me. Sorry, let me move back a little bit. I think what Peter wants is he wants someone in the coaching position to essentially tell everyone what they have to do. Not only like in the middle of the scrims, they should find ways to motivate players to play. They tell players specifically what to play. They work rotations. They do all analyst work. They do in scrim stuff, out of scrim stuff, replay direction, stats. You know, essentially, he wants to be microed as a robot, and the support staff to essentially cover everything else. And I felt that was almost impossible. And it's not that I did a good job of coaching, but I just felt like what he expects from a coach is like really, really crazy. I feel like he expects like a coach to be like the person who motivates the players to play, to tell them what to do in their off time, to tell them to talk about more league-related things. And I think that it's really hard for a coach to do that, you know, especially in a crowd where it's like, yeah, I'd like to push people to be more motivated, but it's just hard sometimes. I don't know. And I fully think that I deserve like a little bit of the blame, if not a lot of the blame, for what happened this split. Right? I wasn't able to find the identity, wasn't able to transition it fast enough. But even with that being said, I feel like it's really easy to shift the responsibility onto others, and I think that Peter does that a lot. You know, he shifts the responsibility onto the coaching staff to do a lot of different things, and I think that, you know, in a perfect world, maybe that might be the case. But right now, coaching in the just coaching in esports in general isn't fleshed out enough to be able to do that, and so I feel like that's where the disconnect comes from. Where I feel like Link wants people to be super passionate, super motivated by themselves, and Peter wants like the motivation to come essentially for the support staff to tell everyone what to do, including him. I think that's where the clash comes. Like the support staff not only should be the ones who in-game, out of scrim stuff, they should also do essentially like some manager duties, conflict resolvement. They should be like the bad guy, right? For arguments, like he specifically said that before, and they should be like, I don't know, also the smartest person, which is just a lot to ask for. I think like maybe that person's out there, but I don't know of that person. So that's where I thought that the big clash came in, and yeah. That's pretty much what I think about that. In terms of, oh god, there's something else I wanted to talk about, but
For what? For the stealth.
it's not that Doublelift doesn't have intrinsic motivation. I think he feels like he's the most motivated person on the team. But you know, when I say there's a big difference between saying you're like super motivated and actually doing it. So for him, like, it's hard for, I don't know, like for Link, the motivation also came from helping out everyone on the team. And for Peter, it's harder for him to do that. Like, he doesn't have the ability to see how to do that. So it's a very narrow, his scope of like how to like really step up, you know? It's like, okay, well, he's got to step up. He's got to be the one who talks more, communicates more, stuff like that. But with Link, it's like, I'm going to step up. He's like, I'm going to make it so everyone else on my team can play better. And I think he had the better idea of how to create a team and to do those kind of things than Peter did. But it's true. I think both of them improved a lot on both their aspects. Like Peter, I agree, wasn't a great teammate, but he improved a lot from the start of the split to like the middle/end. And Link also, I heard, wasn't a great teammate beforehand, and he improved a lot as well. Like, if it was the first split together, I think they both would have been fine with each other. But they've been together for so long, they have so much history that it's super hard for them to really. I don't think it's possible for them to be together. Like, I think when I started the team, I was just like, these guys are like, this is like super strange for them to play together. And you know, maybe if I was more authoritative, I could have like taken it under control. I could have been like, all right, you guys, shut the hell up. But it's just hard, you know. It really is, especially when players lose respect for you as a coach. It's just like, I feel like a lot of what you have in terms of resources, or a lot of what I had in terms of resources was, I don't know, maybe I just misused resources. We'll just go with that. Yeah, I think so. The clash of like, I guess, management styles between the two was just too big, and since I guess they both, it's whatever. They interacting in game was really hard for them, so I knew going into this split one of them had to go. Like that's how I thought. Like immediately, like I stepped down, I was like, one of these guys is gonna be gone. But I didn't say anything, and Tony didn't say anything, so I don't know. I thought it was gonna be interesting. I don't think Peter's a bad guy. It's just like I don't think Link's a bad guy. You know, I think they're just on the same team, and it didn't work out. I think though, for Peter to win, he has to find the way to. Peter's biggest weakness is the fact that he lacks empathy. So it's really, really hard for him to connect with people because he's just not that empathetic. Like he just doesn't. Like he's not empathetic, and that's why it's easy for there to be conflict to be spurred up. And he's done a lot to improve it, but that's just probably the thing where if he doesn't do that and the coach doesn't step in to manage inner team relationships, then it's going to be really hard to be on a team with him. And then Link, I think that you know, he also had problems in terms of how he like, I guess, interacted with people as well. Like sometimes it was really not productive either. And so the most important thing for those players, I feel, was just that a coach, like there needs to be someone in the middle to handle the interpersonal or inter team stuff. There's something I really wanted to talk about actually, but do I have time? No, I think both of them needed the same type of coach. I just don't think I was that. Like, I'm not that authoritative. Like, give me 50 push-ups, and I'll shit down your throat. I can't. I don't know, man. It's just really weird. Like, you can be authoritative without doing that, but I feel like that's what they wanted, or that's what I wasn't able to provide. You know. Let me think. What time do I have? Okay, let Let me think about this then. So
Are you okay, Internet?
something that was coaches in general. So this is what I thought that was weird. I spent a lot of time in the past couple of days thinking about coaches and thinking about learning. So one of the big things is that coaches are.
Go top 6.
I looked at coaching for other sports. I've only scratched the surface, but I mean, even here, here's a good example. So here's a book. Some of you may know this guy. His name is Coach K. And it's essentially a book called Leading with the Heart. And I got recommended this book because I was like, dude, is every coaching style authoritative? And I got recommended from my sports psychologist when I was at CLG. No, you should read this book and figure out how he does it. And I read it and I'm just like it's open. This just shows that I've tried other methods. I've tried to expand my knowledge in terms of coaching by quite a bit. Coach K is, by the way, I think he's like the Duke college basketball coach, and I think he's won this year. I think that guy. From what I heard, this guy's a god. Everything I hear about this guy is this guy is the best coach ever in college basketball. But that's irrelevant. Anyways, so I was thinking about coaching and how coaching has an impact on individuals. I would say. Or just the sport in general. So let's look at coaching from a soccer perspective. I read a lot of Reddit comments about this today. So in soccer, there's 11 players, but everything is the coach is the most important player possible. The coach/manager is the most important player in football by far. You get all the blame and all the rewards are pretty much essentially at the coach. The coach decides what the team runs, how to use everything. And since there's 11 players on the field, it's more important that everyone's a cohesive unit than individual talent really shines. Okay, that's the way I see football, at least, or soccer, whatever. I don't care what you call it. And a lot of and then so let's move on from that. So let's go to the NBA. So I come from Houston, right? So when I grew up, Yao Ming just started getting popular. I grew up when Houston won back-to-back championships. I think 1994 or something like that. So we were one of my family gatherings or one of my family get-togethers was just watching the Houston Rockets. Everyone on my team was a huge Houston Rockets fan, especially after they picked up Yao Ming. So when I researched a lot about the NBA, I found out that maybe the coaches the relative importance of a coach is iffy. I still think coaches are really, really important in NBA, but I remember even hearing the general manager of the Houston Rockets being I think the only way to win a championship title in the NBA is to have a superstar player, an all-star player, and that's where we are going to put our full efforts into obtaining this all-star player so we can win. That was literally paraphrased how he described the victory or the win condition for his team to win the NBA. And with only 5 people on the court, I think that individual talent, especially in NBA, maybe matters a little bit more. And especially with being unable to substitute players, and in league, I feel maybe basketball is more related to league, but individual talent is super good as well. Maybe for coaching, it's really hard for me to determine the impact of a coach outside of it's big, but I feel coaches are both underestimated and overestimated, and I don't know how much coaching really pertains in this genre. Yeah. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. I feel coaching in general, it's really underdeveloped in esports, and everyone knows that. But people don't understand, how does coaching develop in other industries? Well, you have a mentor, right? You have someone who teaches you how to coach. Let's take Popovich as an example. If you want to learn how to be a great coach, you want to be, I think he's an NBA coach for the Spurs. I don't even remember who they coach. It's San Antonio Spurs, I'm pretty sure. You mentor under him for a couple of years, and then you become your own coach. He teaches you what to do. Additionally, there's coaching seminars every year. So you go to coaching seminars, and you have leaders, Coach K did one of these seminars. Leaders of coaches around the world that come together and teach you or tell you what works, and for you to be able to ask questions what happens when this happens? What happens when that happens? I think coaching is way more developed in other areas. In esports, I don't fault coaches for not being that great. I think because there's a huge way or like a very long way to the finish line for esports coaching. Okay. Yeah, sure, and maybe Coma and Reaper are the best examples of coaches right now, but do you really think they're at the level of Popovich in terms of coaching? I don't even think so. I think they're super good, but only in a league terms. I think they're very small fish. You know, when you have people who win back-to-back NBA championships, have won Coach of the Year multiple times, I think you can look toward that and be like, that guy is a great coach. And you look toward Coma and you're like, I think this guy's a really good coach. Aaron, I think this guy's a great coach, possibly the best coach in the world, but in their respective field, right? Just something to think about. So on top of that, I'm going to move a little bit on to what I think is important in terms of learning. So I think as you get older and as you become like an LCS, like an LCS veteran or like a pro League of Legends player, I think it's really hard to learn. You know, I think when you're younger, you learn. You don't have solidified ideas of what a great, like, you don't have solidified ideas about how to play the game. But as you become older, like, it gets ingrained into you. Like, you have to 2v2, 1v1. You have to play these specific champions. These are the meta picks. You have to get good at them. Everyone else is playing them. You're doing this. Like, how you lane, how you do it. It's all very systematic after a while. And I feel like that's the way you break away from that, or one of the ways you break away from that is by this is gonna sound stupid, but like, you know how when you become a great coach, like you mentor under a great coach, right? If you want to learn to be a good coach, I think having like a student teacher relationship with a worse player or another player will helps a lot, especially in terms of veterans, for you to become a better player. Because I feel like the process of learning, especially as you learn more and more, is just reevaluating your fundamentals. A good example is this is like, okay, well, how did I learn how to lane with Diana? First, I talked about this yesterday. First, I was like, let's just shove in every match because I have no idea what I'm doing. And then after that, I was like, okay, let's just shove in range matchups that can't shove very well. But in melee matchups, I probably shouldn't do that because I'm going to get ganked and he can freeze the wave in front of my turret. Okay, that's great. And then afterwards, I was like, well, I can do Wraith Camp. So if I do Wraith Camp and didn't do this, it's good. And then I start reevaluating what's good. And then one time, I think I got to the point where I shouldn't shove, especially if I don't have the early pressure jungler. So notice how it starts with me shoving every time. Then I don't shove because of this, then I do shove because of that, then I don't shove because of this. Like, there's multiple different factors. You keep reevaluating your fundamentals on what you want in that specific area. And I think it's really hard to reevaluate your fundamentals if you're older because you don't know what you're already kind of locked into what you know, and you don't know what you're not, you're not questioning. And that's where like a younger person comes in, or like I don't want to say a more hungry person, but just a younger person comes in and he's like, he can ask you like, why do you do that, man? Why do you shove at level 3 every time? Like, why do you back at why do you back on this wave? Oh, it's because the cannon wave's coming up, you know? You only miss 4 CS to be back on this wave. And being able to explain that and being able to teach someone this not only teaches you about I guess respect, like authority and like all that stuff, it also teaches you how to like teach yourself. Like if you teach someone something, I feel like that means you have mastery of something, of that specific thing. And so I think that's where B teams should come in, because I think B teams can fill that spot very, very easily from the challenger scene. It's something that we almost tried to do at the very end of CLG, but it was just too late. This split. And I think that's really interesting, and I think that's something that players can do to consistently use to become better. Like, I feel like not only do they become better players off of this method, but they also become better people, if that makes sense. Like, they'd be like more intelligent and like understand socially, like, interaction between individuals. Anyways, I don't want to take up too much time about this kind of stuff, but it's just the kind of stuff I've been thinking about. I don't know what process or how to implement the idea that I just stated, but it's just something that I've been thinking about a lot. And, you know, maybe I'll pick up someone that I feel like I can teach, and hopefully I can learn as well, you know, at the same time. Because I'm in that area where it's like it's hard for me to reevaluate fundamentals without being very, very critical of myself. And it's very easy to just take a second hand or second opinion on that for me. Anyways, I've said a lot already, guys. So I don't want to turn this into like just me saying stuff, kind of things. It's just something that's been on my mind for a little bit, both the link things and the other stuff. So I'm gonna go play some ads, and I'll see you guys in 3 minutes at the drop by stream. Okay, I'll be back.
Rex up?